It's the game played within the game. Every sport has it. Smart coaches, players, and teams use this to their advantage. This is QB Unfiltered Flashback, psychological warfare.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
In the good old days, it was termed getting in their heads or psyching them out. In today's terminology, it goes something like living in a dude's head rent-free. And it's one of the most valuable and effective tools in sports. It can be visual or it can be verbal. It can be subtle or not so much. Either way, if it's used correctly and strategically, psychological warfare is powerful. And I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about. You know, when I was doing my bullet points for this show today, I was thinking about the guys that I watched over the years that used psychological warfare to their advantage. And a guy that jumped out pretty fast in my mind was former great pitcher in the major leagues, Gaylord Perry. Perry pitched from 1962 through 1983, and he was legendary for throwing spitballs or doctored baseballs. He was accused of loading up the ball with Vaseline or some other slick substance. It was said that he had it on his upper body somewhere, around his neck, on his face, behind his ear, under his hat, you know, the bill of his hat. He had it in his glove. He was never busted for this. And he probably did doctor the ball up at some point in time. But I think as his career went, he realized what a powerful tool it was for the players to wonder whether he was doing it or not. And so I went through and pulled up some old clips of him. And this was right at the tail end of his career. He was pitching for the Seattle Mariners. And this one just cracked me up. I mean, this was the true art of psychological warfare. There's a hitter stepping into the box. Perry's got the ball in his glove. He's standing on the mound and he does this. Takes his thumb, rubs it across his forehead, goes back the other direction. Takes his thumb and index finger and is messing around with the bill of his cap, and then brushes his fingers through his hair, and then he goes through and does the same thing again. While he's doing this, the batter's in the batter's box probably thinking to himself, shit, is he actually getting some stuff to put on the ball, or is he just screwing with me? And that's the art of psychological warfare, because if the hitter is in the box thinking that, then Perry's got a big advantage before he even throws the ball. Okay, now, with psychological warfare, the bottom line is this. You're doing this for three reasons, okay? The first one is if you can get your opponent thinking about other stuff rather than doing his job and thinking about the important stuff that he should be thinking about, big advantage for you. Number two, and this is the one that I really enjoyed the most, if you can annoy your opponent before the game starts, that's a big advantage for you, okay? Because, I mean, it's been scientifically proved. It doesn't matter what sport you're playing. If an athlete is irritated and annoyed, he doesn't play as smooth and at as high a level as he normally would. And so we always try to do things that would just irritate our opponent a little bit. It goes back to the great warrior Sun Tzu. You know, he wrote the famous book, The Art of War, and he had a whole bunch of principles that he followed and his troops followed. And one of his principles was, if your opponent is temperamental, then irritate him. Now, it didn't matter whether our opponent was temperamental or not. We were going to try to piss them off and irritate them and annoy them. It wasn't personal, nasty stuff, little digs, little pokes, you know, just trying to piss off your opponent and annoy him. And then number three, the reason why we did the psychological warfare is we did something that our opponents couldn't do. And that was we threw the ball better than anybody else. We threw it We caught it. Our technique was pretty close to flawless, right? And we were showing our opponent in warm-ups how confident we were in what we did, but we were also showing them that we were executing a part of the game that they couldn't come close to doing. And they knew it, all right? And that really freaked out a lot of guys. And I'm going to touch on this one as we go through these examples. And when I get to the last job that I had before I retired for good, we're really going to talk about how our pregame warmups absolutely freaked out the other team. Okay, so today I'm going to recall some of my tricks and ploys that I use going back just about 50 years to when I was playing high school football in the mid 70s. Now, I was a quarterback and we were the best passing team in the state of Washington. We were really good at throwing the ball. And the one thing that we did in warmups, which I took with me when I became a coach and used it for my entire coaching career, the one thing that we did in warmups that we felt gave us an advantage over our opponent was when we broke from stretch to go do group period, we would have the quarterbacks and receivers throw routes. It didn't matter whether we were playing at home or on the road. We always did those routes on the opponent's sideline. We always did it on their sideline, and we did it as close to the 50-yard line as we could. So the quarterbacks would snap the ball on the hash, and you would have the receivers running their routes into the short side of the field. But we were butted right up against that 50-yard line as close as we could go. And we were right on the opponent's sideline. And the reason why we did it on the opponent's sideline is in football pregame, you've got a lot of guys that are standing on the sideline that are taking part of the warm-up, right, for the team. So you have like support staff, training staff. You've got some coaches even that are hanging out on the sidelines. You've got players that are hurt and aren't suited up for the game. And by running our routes right there on their sideline, we gave them an up close and personal look at what we were doing. And that was the same reason why we did it as close to the 50 as we could, because the players on the other team that were warming up and the coaches that were doing the warm-up drills were sneaking peeks at us throwing the ball. And the reason they were doing that, and the reason why we did it on their sideline and as close as we could to them at the 50-yard line, was we were doing something that they couldn't do, and they knew it. And we wanted to make sure that they got a real good look at it. So we're throwing it, catching it, the ball's not hitting the ground. And after playing in high school and then all the way through my coaching career, I always felt like we had a 7-0 advantage in every game before the opening kickoff ever happened with how we conducted our pregame warm-up. That takes me to Santa Rosa Junior College. This is when we really started to up our game with the psychological warfare. At SRJC, it's a California Junior College in Northern California. We were the best passing team in the country. Okay. We led the country in passing 7 times, and we could really throw it, right? And so this is what we did with our pregame. We would go out and do a stretch with our specialists, which is everybody except for the O-line and D-line. And when we were done with the stretch, we would break to our warm-up spots. Well, the first thing we did in warm-ups is we had our receivers and our quarterbacks just playing catch. So we had a row of receivers and quarterbacks on the 50-yard line, and then a row 10 yards away on our 40-yard line. And it's just throwing the ball, catching it, flipping it to a quarterback, throwing the ball, just going back and forth, you know, getting your arms loose, getting your hands loose, playing catch. What we did with this, though, our row of guys that were on the 50, we had them stand with their feet on our opponent's side of the field, like on their 49 or their 49 and a half. That freaked coaches out, freaked them out. So the first thing that we would do in warm-ups got the attention of everybody on their staff. They were looking to see where our guys' feet were. They were talking to the refs about it. They were pissing and moaning about it, right? And it got so bad that they made a rule now called the Santa Rosa rule, which said that there needed to be a 10-yard buffer between the teams in warm-ups, which meant the furthest you could go or the closest you could go to the 50-yard line was your own 45. Same with your opponent. Okay. So that's that 10-yard buffer zone in there. And we would even push it on that too. We would tell our guys, the guys that were on the 45, to stand on the 46 and see how, if we could irritate and annoy the other coaches. The other thing with that drill, we got their attention with the feet and where we were standing, but we were so good just playing catch. I mean, our quarterbacks are throwing dimes, but our receivers, all of them, thumbs together, catching the ball out of the air, clean catches, no double catches, tucking it away. Okay. All our receivers look the same. The ball never hit the ground. That's just playing catch. And you got the opponent on their side of the field warming up. Their coaches are concerned about where our players are standing with their feet. And then the players and their coaches are sneaking peeks at our guys just playing catch, going, holy shit, these guys are a machine. Okay. And then we went to the drill that I did in high school, right? Where we're throwing individual routes. And just like in high school, when I was playing, we always threw those routes on the opponent's sideline and as close to the 50-yard line as we could so that they could get an up close and personal look. The ball never hit the ground. Our quarterbacks put dimes on all the throws. Our receivers caught them clean, caught the ball, tucked it, turned it straight up field. And it was something that the other teams couldn't do. And they knew they couldn't do it. Okay. Now, before I go any further with the pregame, I want to say that this got so bad that there were a couple of teams that, and the coaches told me this. Okay. So after the season, we have state meetings in the Central Valley of California where all the head coaches go, and we'd go out and hoist a few beers at night. And these guys would tell me, hey, coach, we didn't come out for pregame warmups when we played you guys this year. We warmed up in the gym because we didn't want our guys to be intimidated watching you guys warm up. And I'm like, right on, right on. So in their head. Okay. So we go now to the last thing we do in warmups at Santa Rosa Junior College before we leave the field and go in the locker room. And that's running team period, right? So in team period, this is before they had the 10-yard buffer where you could only go to the 45-yard line. This is before that. So the guys that were in, the 11 guys that were in running the reps, the rest of the offense would line up across the 50-yard line. And again, our guys would stand on their side of the 50, just even a little bit, but it was still on their side. But we would stand in a row, right? And we ran no huddle. And I'm standing there off to the side, like, kind of like I usually was like behind our left slot receiver. And I'm signaling the no huddle stuff in. I'm the only guy signaling. I got no dummy signalers with me. It's just me. A lot of the teams that we played had a coach or two on the sideline during that period watching me, watching my signals. And you would also have the players warming up for the other team and the coaches while they were warming up. And they were usually doing team at this point in time in their warm-ups too. They're stealing glances over at us. And then I'd start messing with them. So I'd signal a play. And before my quarterback went into the cadence, I'd yell out, kill it, which means we're going to change the play. And as soon as I yelled, kill it, everybody on the other side, our opponent's coaches, would all snap their eyes and look at me to get some sort of a big secret play that I was about to signal. And so I would go into this long-winded, like 25 signals that didn't mean shit because we did a indicator system like in baseball to where I could do anything. And until I gave the indicator signal, it didn't mean anything. Once I gave the indicator, what I signaled next was going to be the play, right? So I'm kill it. I know I've got everybody looking at me on the other side now, plus the coaches on the sideline trying to steal my shit, right? So I'm going through all this stuff and just doing a bunch of nonsense, and then real quickly give the indicator the play, and we run it. And then we would do it again. We would run our stuff, just normal tempo, normal. And then I'd go again, kill it. Everybody would snap their eyes. And there were some times where we went into that team period where I told the players, listen, I'm going to verbally say something. You guys know that that's not our play. I'm going to signal it while I'm yelling it to you. Just run what I signal. So I'd signal a play in and I'd go, kill it. Everybody would look at me and I'd go, run 62 X tornado, which we don't run a play. That doesn't mean anything. We don't have that play. And as I'm saying, run 62X tornado, I'm signaling the play that I want us to run. And it was just messing with guys like that was really fun. Our players enjoyed it. We were so good at what we did offensively and so in tune that we could take those little detours just to mess with our opponents' minds. That was fun stuff. Then we go to the coin toss. Again, I'm still staying with Santa Rosa Junior College, the coin toss. Told my captains, I want you to go out to the middle of the field after you shake hands with the other team's captains, and before the ref flips the coin, I want you to say, if we win the toss, we want the rock. If we win the toss, we want the rock before the ref even flips the coin. Okay? And again, that's just sending a message to the other team. And then I would say from probably 1995, my last year at Wayne State College, for the rest of my coaching career up through 2018, the first play of every game, we threw the ball. The first play of every game. I knew we were going to throw it. My players knew we were going to throw it. The fans knew we were going to throw it. The opponents knew we were going to throw it. The refs knew we were going to throw it. And there's nothing they could do to stop it. And that's sending a message. The other thing was the first game of every season, on the first play, we were going 4 vertical. We did that for years and years. And we used to tell our players, it's the old Bull Durham thing where we tell our players, we are going to announce our presence with authority. Okay. Also with SRJC, we didn't punt. So again, that gets into your opponent's head, right? We didn't punt unless it was 4th down from like our 15-yard line. If we were out at our 30, if we were at our 35, whatever, we were going for it. 4 downs. Now that serves 2 purposes. Number one, it gives your players such tremendous confidence in knowing that the coaches know that we're going to play 4-down football because we feel good about getting the first down. It also sends the message to your opponent. We're not punting because we don't think you can stop us. Okay, then that takes me now to, I'm retired from junior college, the head job there, full-time coaching gig, and I'm basically gearing it down now to be fully retired. But I go to coach high school ball, offensive coordinator for a team coached by one of my former junior college quarterbacks. His name was Dan Bourdon, great head coach, really good. And we did some stuff that just freaked people out. Again, we had the best passing team in the state of California. One of my quarterbacks, Jack Newman, he did some things that will never be duplicated. I've talked about this young man before, so I'm not going to go into the story. I'm just going to say that this guy was so talented. And it was so much fun coaching him and the skill guys that we had at that high school. And we could just throw the hell out of the football. And this is what we did in pregame warmups that just freaked out our opponent. We would stretch in the locker room, or if we were at home, we would stretch in the gym. Pretty sophisticated stretch, right? So the other team would be on the field doing their warmups, and we wouldn't be out there. And we were making them wait. And all of a sudden we would materialize out of the locker room, and we would do like a 20-second team stretch, just 20 seconds, come together, get a break, and scatter to our warm-up spots. And the first thing that we did was throw verticals. So my starting quarterback was on the 45. Half of our outside receivers and half of our slot receivers are on the 45 to the right. My backup quarterback's down on the 5-yard line. The other half of our outside and slot receivers are on the right on the 5. And we're just running verticals where the outside guys would go first and then the slot guys would go, and we would run the slot verticals based on the coverage we were going to see that night. So if we were seeing cover 2, those guys would be running benders. If we were seeing 1 high, they were running seam verticals down the hash. And we came out of the gate running that full speed, and the ball didn't hit the ground. Now, you talk about just totally amazing and freaking out your opponents. Everybody on the sideline was watching us, and it was like I would watch these guys watch us. Their mouths would be open as they would watch the ball arc through the air and drop right into our receiver's hands. Then I'm looking down at the other team warming up, and you got coaches that are watching us throw verticals instead of coaching their warm-up drills. It was just, we had them. We had them mentally. We had the advantage before the game even started. We told our captains, go out there and tell the ref, if we win the toss, we want the ball before he flips the coin. We threw it on the first play of every game, and they just couldn't stop it, right? And that was really fun. So psychological warfare, what a great weapon. I'm not so sure how much it's used today. You know, sports are changing across the board, and it's sad because I think a lot of the old school way of doing things and the gamemanship and all that stuff is sort of becoming a lost art. You know, I haven't coached for 8 years, so I'm really not sure, but if it goes the same way that it's gone with everything else, with sports changing, I would imagine that it's not as prevalent today as it used to be. But man, was it fun. It was fun. And like I said, it wasn't nasty. It wasn't personal. It was just a little needle, a little jab, a little poke, and just some good old-fashioned intimidation. And our players loved it. They knew how to use it. I loved it. I knew how to use it. And like I said, I thought that it gave us a big advantage every game that we played, every game. So that's the flashback, QB Unfiltered Flashback. If you enjoyed this one, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate the support. Okay, this is QB Unfiltered. And remember, always throw the ball short to guys who can score. See ya.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.